Hey guys, I'm Danielle and this is Bookchara and it is 2022. So now I'm going to play my January TBR game. It is my clue inspired TBR game, but there have been some improvements that is going to make getting away with murder just a little bit easier. But before I tell you about the improvements, or the changes to my TBR game, I want to run through really quick the books I read in November, the last time I played this TBR game. First, I read Fairest by Marissa Meyer. This is the Lunar Chronicles book 3.5, and this is Levana's story. This book was equal parts wonderful and horrible, and I loved it. Wonderful and terrible, but in a good way. Levana's character is just terrible, and I think Marissa Meyer did a great job of walking us through her story without necessarily giving us like sympathy for our favorite villain. So 5 stars for Fairest. Next, I read The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus by L. Frank Baum. L. Frank Baum is the same person that wrote The Wizard of Oz, if you did not know. I read this on ebook and I loved it so much that I bought my own 1983 edition, which is the one you see here. I was in search of an idea for my advent calendar challenge, and if you haven't seen that, the 10 reindeer were inspired by the reindeer in this book. So highly recommend, 5 stars. Next, I read Louisiana's Way Home by Kate DiCamillo. This book I read as the short book prompt. It's actually only 240 pages, which I guess is not necessarily short compared to some, but it was a really quick read. This is one of my favorite middle grades of 2021. When I went to go rate it on Goodreads, I found out that it's actually the second book in a series, so I can say that it can definitely be read as a standalone. 5 stars for Louisiana's Way Home. Next, I read the graphic novel Sheets by Brenna Thumler. This I read for a book with illustrations prompt. This was just okay for me. I do not think I will continue the series. I gave this one 3 stars. Next, I read The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise by Dan Gemeinhart. I had to return this book to the library. I am sad to say. I wish I owned a copy of my own at this point. This was my favorite middle grade book of 2021, and I read this for the prompt, a book featuring your favorite color. This book is highly rated on Goodreads. I think it has a 4.49 out of like 16,000 ratings. Everybody that I mentioned this book to that had already read it absolutely loved it. Absolute perfection, 5 stars. Next, I read All Things New, Heaven, Earth, and the Restoration of Everything You Love by John Eldredge. This is a Christian nonfiction book. I actually wish I had my copy to hold in my hand just because I like to talk with my hands and I like to have something to hold, but I actually lent this one out to my parents when I finished it. So I started this book in September or October, I'm not sure, but it did take me a little while to get through this book just because it was a lot to process. But this was for my Book-Oplathon role TBR veteran. So this was a book I had been looking forward to reading for a while. It is my 4th John Eldredge book that I have read. When I was reading this book and I was about halfway through, I made a post on Twitter and it was something like, this book is changing the way that I see things. I will never see things the same or think the same way. And all I can think right now is I don't really know how to tell people about this book. And that's kind of still where I am with that. He did use quite a few Lord of the Rings and like Chronicles of Narnia references throughout this book, along with scripture. My previous video clip cut off, but I feel like John was very brave in allowing himself to imagine like he did to write this book, and I think that it takes a little bit of courage and imagination to read it. So with that, I hope you read it. I gave All Things New 5 stars. The 7th and final book I read in November was On the Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness. That is book 1 in the Wingfeather saga, and it's written by Andrew Peterson. This was another one that I did have to return to the library. It was just okay for me. I gave it 3 stars. I wanted to really, really love this book. I'm in love with the cover. And in fact, in that rating, I was in the minority because it is highly rated on Goodreads. And even on my review, there were some people that said, oh, this series gets better, you know, just stick with it. But for me, that first book has to hook me, and this one failed to do that. So those are the 7 books I read in November. I also have a list here of the books that would have counted toward my TBR game. I should have also read Blended by Sharon Draper, All the Impossible Things by Lindsay Lackey, The Magician's Key by Matthew Cody, and finally I should have finished Winter, which is book 4 in the Lunar Chronicles, but I did not finish that book until the first week in December. So now we're going to reveal the books that were in my November case file. I will say that because this is a new year, I am not counting any of these books against me. I am starting fresh, and I guess that's kind of the benefit of a new year. So the books in the case file are All the Impossible Things by Lindsay Lackey, Louisiana's Way Home by Kate DiCamillo, and The Magician's Key by Matthew Cody. So I'm glad to say that the 2 books that were on there that I did not read are not counting against me. With that, let me tell you about the changes to my TBR game before I play the game. So the rules are staying the same, but our beloved characters are getting new names. And, you know, you can call them a nickname, you can call them whatever you want, but with these new names come with a special ability that is going to hopefully help me work this game to my advantage even more. Colonel Mustard will now be known as Hitman. He is very good at what he does, and his special skill is that he can eliminate 1 book from my final stack. Professor Plum will now go by Sherlock. He doesn't miss a thing. His special skill will be to reveal 1 case file book to me after they're drawn. Dr. Orchid will now be known as Arsenal. You want to stay on her good side. Her special skill is that she can collect a weapon on the first pass and choose any book in that genre. That special skill can only be used once per game. Mr. Green is also known as Ace. He is our resident card shark, and his special skill is that he can remove 1 of the random TBR clue cards from the clue card stack. Miss Scarlet is now known as DT, aka Double Trouble. She is more than meets the eye, and her special skill is that for every double rolled during that game, 1 winner from the comments will receive a book from their wish list. That particular special skill can be used up to 1 time per quarter. Miss Peacock, aka TikTok, has nothing but time. When I play as TikTok, I will have 1 extra week to complete any book from the case file. So that's it. That's our new cast of characters, and now let's get to my roles. Okay, so first things first, we are going to see who I am playing as. Two is formerly known as Colonel Mustard. Now we've got the Hitman. He's good at what he does. His special skill, again, is to eliminate 1 book from the final stack. We're going for book 1. Doubles, that's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nine. 1, 2. And for the first book, I will be reading Steady, which is the study book from my Advent Calendar Christmas game. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I got a clue card, so I'm going to draw from the clue stack. And I will be reading The War That Saved My Life. That actually counts as doubles as well. Double ones. Oh my gosh. Okay, so double ones again. I got another magnifying glass symbol. So Colonel Mustard goes back to the start spot, and I'm going to draw another book from the clue cards. I will also be reading Season of Wonder. And both these books do not have a star next to them. I starred the ones that were my TBR hopefuls, and I left a star off of the cards that were the ones that were chosen, randomly chosen from my TBR. Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. 1, 2, 3. For my fourth book, I will be reading the first book in a series. And lost a dice. Okay, I'm going to re-roll that one because the dice fell off the table. Okay, doubles, and I got 4. I am going to use the secret passage and go over here to the conservatory. For my fifth book, I will be reading the Eurovision book club pick for January. So for Steady, this was, like I said, a part of my Advent calendar challenge. This was a book that either would not let me down or that I was committed to. And inside that drawer on my Advent calendar was the book Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is book 4.5 in the Lunar Chronicles. I technically should have read this in December, which obviously all of these books I should have read in December, but this one in particular with my book club. But this is a collection of short stories, Lunar Chronicle short stories, and this is what I will be reading for Steady. For my first clue card, I drew The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. This is a book I was actually gifted by Amy Bowman, and this was her recommendation for me in my 1-year BookTube anniversary video. So really looking forward to this. My second clue card was Seasons of Wonder by Rayanne Thane, and this is actually, it's a holiday romance. This is actually the book that I am going to sick the hitman on because I am just so past being in the mood for holiday romance. So I'm kicking this one off the list. For the first in a series book, I will be reading Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This I'll be reading with Mythical Megan and her YA book club. And then my final book for my TBR game is going to be The September Girls by Maureen Lee. And this is the Eurovision-a-thon's pick for January. And that readathon is hosted by Helen at Helen's Bookhaven. Other TBR hopefuls, I am hoping to get to The Hatmakers by Tamsin Merchant. This is one that is going to be the January middle grade monthly read-along book. So it's beautiful. I just want to stare at it for a minute. Anyway, I'm hoping to get to this one also. I'm also hoping to read Beloved by Toni Morrison. This is the I Should Have Read That book club pick for January. And also this would count toward my kind of year-long goal of getting some books checked off my Gilmore Girls reading challenge list. And finally, I would also like to read How to Be a Heroine, or What I've Learned by Reading Too Much by Samantha Ellis. This one came highly recommended by Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, and also this would count toward Buzzwordathon for January. the prompts are who, what, where, when, why, and how. And I've got how and what in this title. So nonfiction, forgot to say that. Okay, so I'm going to draw the 3 books that I will put in the case file. These are the 3 books I will need to read in January without having to be penalized. So 1, 2, 3. Make sure there's still one in there. So I'm taking these 3 and putting them in the case file. I will not look at that until we play February's TBR game. So those are the books I'm looking forward to reading in January. I hope you guys have enjoyed the improvements to my TBR game. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to hear what books you're looking forward to kicking off the year with, and I hope you're going to stick around. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!